Questions that you may be asked is, can I get this rig in and out of my driveway?
I'm super high.
It's not a motorcycle, baby. It's a chopper. Come on, let's go.
Welcome back. Riders on the Norm. Just recovering from my weekend up in the mountains at Twin Rivers Chopper Campout. Dude, had a blast, ran into a bunch of people. We're going to save that for later on this week. This week, I got Chris Wiggins on, Speed Merchant Racing. Dude's like the fucking creator of Hooligan Racing. It's badass. So I sat down with him. We had to cut it short, man. We were about an hour and 10 into it. And I was like, dude, this thing is, I don't know if anybody's going to listen this long. We need to freaking shut it down. I could have kept going. I could have let him keep going, I should say. He's on it, man. And it's pretty cool that he's willing to give us some information on this racing and setups and stuff like that. And I'll be hitting him up for sure once we get this thing back in the frame and start looking like a fucking motorcycle. The ROTN racing bike number 1, that is. So anyways, look, before we get to it, check out Get Lowered. These guys are fucking taking care of us, therefore keeping this show going and taking care of you. If you can go to their websites, getlowered.com, order something. Get something for your chopper. Get something for your fucking Donna. They got all kinds of stuff. Check them out. There's free shipping on everything. They've got stuff from our boys at freaking Rusty Butcher, Prism, North Carolina guys, and a few other companies. Just jump on there, check it out. If you see something you like, get it. Tell them we sent you over there. Really helps us out. Go to our website, ridersonthenorm.com. You can find all of our stuff there, all of our social media, Instagram, Facebook, the store. We got a new shipment of the OG ROT and left breast shirts in, so those are in stock. If you can, jump on. If you want to, get you a fucking shirt, man. We're working on some new designs. If anybody out there wants to freaking do something, man, hit me up. Wes at ridersonthenorm.com. Send it in. It'd be fucking awesome. What else do we got? I think that's about it. Patreon, you guys fucking kick ass. Man, all the patrons that are hooking us up and helping out with the show, it's freaking awesome. We really appreciate it. Other than that, dude, the solar eclipse was fucking awesome today. Had an awesome weekend in the mountains. Rode with my boy Josh. And then last week we sat down and talked with Chris Wiggins a little bit. So without any further ado, if I can speak, here we go. Chris Wiggins.
It's amazing. Like, I think games on your phone are like an easy way to describe it, but it's like, oh, our phones are 10 times better than they were, 4 or 5 years ago. But all your apps are like 15 times better, and your phone still struggles to keep up.
Yeah. Dude, that's like my brain and right? This computer here is struggling to keep up. Now, we're good to go. We're hot now.
Okay, cool.
All right, so I got Chris Wiggins on, and Chris, it's funny, dude. I had to look up. Like, I know everybody by their Instagram names. Like, I don't know anybody's name. So I'm like, earlier today, I was looking on there, like, shit, what is Wig Zero's actual freaking name?
Yeah.
So, anyways, yeah, we got Chris from the Speed Merchant on, and dude, I'm glad that you jumped on, because I really am looking forward to like picking up a little info, or a lot of info, on this hooligan racing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't want to say I know all of it, but I'll help you out as much as I can. So,
well, it seems like, there's a few of you guys out there, like a few, I guess teams out there that really stand out. You guys, the Speed Merchant, and then of course Rusty Butcher is one that stands out.
Yeah.
And now JJ, of course, freaking making his way onto the scene. He's standing out some here too. So,
yeah.
This is I'm going straight to the source, man. When did you or I guess just tell us how you got into this stuff.
All right, so we were doing Harley nights at our local like speedway. And it's all it is in Orange County, California. They still race speedway bikes, which are pretty cool little motorcycles with 500cc methanol single cylinders with no brakes.
Okay.
And the bikes just rip. And then to do like some promotional stuff or like some gimmick nights, one of the big things they do, and it's even bigger now, is Harley night. And you would literally like ride your Harley down, ride in the back gate. They'd let you in for free, and you'd go race your Dyna, your Softail, your Bagger if you wanted. And they'd like let you all, you know, depending how many people they let, you know, 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 guys on the line, and they'd pull the tapes up and you'd race for 4 laps. And it was absolutely chaotic. But the fans loved it. Like, cause I mean, there were dudes on baggers just taking the left side bag off because they were dragging the bags on the ground. Like, my Dyna's got a flat spot on the primary from doing it.
Yeah.
So it went from 1,000 people in the stands on a regular night to 4,000 people in the stands, like standing room only, you know, selling. Of course, that crowd buys more beer anyway. So,
yeah, of course.
So it started as that. I mean, I used to take my Dyna down and I bought a cheap Sportster and I raced it a little bit, just set up. I was riding it on the street, and it was just a basic sporty because I didn't want to like tear up my good bike.
Right.
And then what happened was a guy by the name of Hunter Klee, who's Media Mate on Instagram. He was a good friend of mine, or still is. He moved to Wisconsin, but he's still a good friend of mine. I was going to be out of town for a Harley night, and he took my Sportster and he put a little flat track tail on it, and he took some wheels I had and got the rear wheel on and put long shocks on the rear and dirt bike bars. And then he took it out, and I don't think it ran the first night it went out. So we came back. I even got it like I got it plated, had it street legal kind of.
Yeah.
And I showed up to the track the next time, and I guess Sean and Aaron from Suicide Machine had seen the bike, or they had just kind of done it on their own. But, you know, we showed up the next time, and it was myself and Sean and Aaron had like little street trackers for this Harley night.
Yeah.
And the bikes were just faster and they handled better. And we kind of did that for a few months. We went to a couple different speedway tracks, and I had taken my bike out to a flat track. I have a speedway bike also. I took it out to practice, and I took my Harley out. I was slow, dude. Like, I wasn't sliding anywhere. I had no idea what I was doing. I was slow. And then Sean from Suicide Machine, we were at a track one night, and he's like, this is fun. He's like, but we do it 3 or 4 times a year. He's like, I want to do it more.
Yeah.
And I go, well, I said, dude, I've been out to Paris, like, I'll get your number, or I think I had his number at the time. I was like, I'll hit you up next time I go out and we'll go practice. So his brother and myself and Sean, we went out to Paris flat track for a regular practice night. We paid our money, and we did as many laps as they'd let us do. Like they put the 3 of us on the track by ourselves because they were scared we were going to run over someone. We were just all so slow. It was ridiculous. Like looking back now, like, you know, everyone tells us like, oh man, you guys are so fast. I want to ride like you. And I'm like, dude, 3 years ago, I was slower than you are when you're starting right now. So it was kind of nuts, but we did that, I think only like once or twice. And then Rusty Butcher showed up, and then there were 4 of us, 4, 5, 6 for a while. Gabe, one of the guys that hangs out with Suicide Machine, Butcher had a lot to do with it growing a little bit too. And then at the time, Preston was doing photos for him. Preston that does RSD photos and Suicide Machine now.
Yeah. Okay.
And it kind of hung there for a while. Like there was just no one doing it. And we were just having a blast. Like, you know, I think in this industry, so many people try to act like they do so much stuff, but you can't fake a race.
Right.
Like, and it was just fun. It was like, you know, we've got these sporties, and we just like, I don't know, why not go ride them as hard as you can? So that was kind of like the idea for a while. It still kind of is the idea, right? Just You go out and ride as fast as you can, and there's nothing like hucking a 450-pound Sportster into a corner sideways and not knowing if you're going to hold it or not. So I think another big thing that really helped give us a boost at the beginning was we did the four of us, Sean and Aaron and Mark and myself, we did a commercial for Harley Davidson. It was that Roll Your Own one a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And they hit up Brownie from Speed Merchant and they said, hey, like we kind of want to do a little flat track thing with these guys. You know them. Can you set us up? So we all got set up with Harley and they rented a track and we went out and had a blast. And I tell everyone, like, Harley only had four of us on that commercial because there was no one else that they could have had do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but I mean, at the time it was huge like that. I don't know. I don't even know how Harley even knew what was going on. Like, I don't even think we knew what was going on. But that kind of like started it. And I think the rest is kind of history. Like, it just kind of started to build. Ivy League flat track out here had a race and like we were set up at Paris. We were going to do some events there, but Ivy League was like early in the year and he set up a hooligan class and we had like 12 or 15 guys, something like that, show up.
Yeah.
And then like every year and every event since then it's spiraled. And then this year in February we had a race, Ivy League, and I think they said they had 50 hooligans signed up.
Jesus.
Yeah. I mean, it's absolutely, it's insane. And it's mind blowing. Like, I look back, like Sean and Aaron and I were standing in the Bucks arena this year in February for Flat Out Friday before Mama Tried.
Yep.
And we're getting ready to go on the track. And I looked at those two guys and I'm like 3 years ago in San Bernardino County at this little Podunk Speedway track, would you guys ever imagine we'd be racing in the Bucks arena on like, I don't know how many thousand people in the stands and on Facebook Live, like we pitted in the entryway to the Milwaukee Bucks arena.
Yeah.
Like, we've got rugs down and oil dripping out of bikes and we're wrenching on bikes and sleeping there because we were there at like noon and the races were at like 7. And it was like insane. Like, Sean's eyes like explained a lot, dude. He just like lights up and he's like, it's mind blowing to us, So and even the same, like you guys building a bike in North Carolina and even guys like JJ in Wisconsin. And I know there's a few guys in Texas and Colorado. It's insane.
Well, what I want to do is I'm really like ready to get this bike together because I feel like once I get mine together, like,
mm-hmm.
like my buddies that we all ride with here will be like, all right, that's fucking cool. Like,
yeah,
I need to get one of those.
And that's really a lot of why it took off in the first place. Like, no one, I don't know. I think 450 flat tracking, it's appealing to some people. And I grew up racing dirt cars. I had a speedway bike. I did a little bit of supermoto and then I raced speedway before I started the hooligan stuff. And I'm like, I've been around racing and I enjoy racing and
mm-hmm.
I love it. But like just hopping on a 450 and going flat tracking like wasn't super appealing.
Yeah.
Which part of that, having a speedway bike, like your mind is like you're a kook ball if you ride speedway. Like, it's the weirdest motorcycle in the world. It was the hardest thing I ever learned how to ride.
Yeah, it's a weird bike. I know those things. They're I mean, yeah. But it's super cool. They look like they will get away from you if.
Oh yeah,
I've seen them bounce down the track.
Oh God, dude, they're scary.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, the big reason I don't even race it, I still have it in my garage. The big reason is like, if I go race, we have a Wednesday night race I can go do. Like,
mm-hmm.
for me to go race, I have to be like 110% focused.
Yeah.
Or that bike's gonna put me in the dirt.
Yeah.
And it's like, which is kind of awesome if that's what I'm focused on. But with so much hooligan stuff going, it was just like, I can't see putting the time in
mm-hmm.
to do what I want to do on it. And it was the type of motorcycle, like I have to really work hard.
Well, and those are big over in Europe, if I'm not mistaken, right? Isn't that like a big European racing thing?
It's huge in Europe. England, Poland, Switzerland, a lot of Eastern European countries. Jawas themselves are from the Czech Republic.
Yeah.
But the current world champion right now is an American from Southern California. And
really?
He grew up on these little tracks.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a big scene in Southern California and a big scene outside of Sacramento too. And that's about it. I mean, and most of the guys are based around Southern California. Even, pretty well every single rider in Europe, I think all the American riders in Europe are originally from Southern California. But yeah, it's to go flat tracking from Speedway to me, that sounds bad, but it was almost like a downgrade. It was like, I have this bike, like, why would I go get a 450? And that was kind of my point of view. I think for a lot of guys doing it, like, like maybe you're a good point of view on this too. Go getting a 450 and setting it up for flat track, or even like just flat tracking a 450. Like, it didn't really have much appeal. And I think for guys like us, like being so immersed in the Harley industry, taking a Sportster out and doing the exact same thing is like, has so much appeal, even though doing the same thing on a 450 has zero appeal, if that makes sense.
No, it really does, because so we were up at Mama Tried this year, and we were signed up for the mini bike races, and our mini like went down like in practice it went down. So one of our guys, like one of the guys that listens to the show or whatever, like saw that we were packing up, and he let us run his little 883 in the inappropriate class. So we would, like, before Mama Tried, like I would have never even really, I mean, I'm sure I would have seen it and gotten into it, but we were, dude, just being down there in the pits and all, like, it just had me so fired up. And that, like, as soon as we got back, that's when we started saying, all right, we're building one of these and we're coming next year. We're going to show up. I don't know how we're going to do, but we're going to fucking show up. You know what I mean?
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
So
that's what I love to hear. Like, I love how Hooligan Racing is growing kind of from the bottom. I mean, there's guys that they've never raced, and they're like, I'm going to get this 450-pound bike and I'm going to go race it.
Yeah, well, I mean, dude, that's what it looks like. I mean, from what Hooligan Racing, just in the little bit of time that I've been paying attention, it seems to me that that's what it is. Like, you can show up with your freaking bike and go out there and race the thing, and either you're gonna suck, or you're gonna at least have fun, hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, some of the events lately, we've been having a lot of money on the line, and honestly, to me, that as much as money's awesome, like, it also kind of sucks some of the fun out.
Right.
But I'm promoting a race next month too, and I'll tell you about that later. But I'm hoping I can put some of the fun back in it. I know Butcher's done one race, and he's got another one coming up in October, and it was meant to kind of put the fun back in it, like remind people, why we started doing it and things like that. And that, I think that will, I'm hoping that the style of some of the things I'm trying to do in my event, I'm hoping they will catch on if they work anyway. It's an experiment. I'm doing some weird, like, one of the weird things I'm doing that's very untraditional is usually if you go to a race and you top, and there's like money for a purse, it's like the top 3, sometimes the top 5 will get money back. The track that I'm having a race at gave us $2,500 for a purse.
Jeez. And
it's got to get approved, and I'm waiting on final approval. But what is supposed to happen is the first 50 people to register race for $10.
Okay.
So you can go out and win, but you're not, like, there's no point in knocking your buddy out of first place, or there's no point in a problem we've been having lately is like literal retired Grand National pros and other pros just showing up because there's money. Like, if those guys show up, if those guys show up to my race, like, they're there because they want to be there, because there's not $1,000 or a $50,000 bike on the line. Like, you're there because you want to be there. And that's how I'm kind of setting up my prize structure. Is I'm trying to benefit everyone, especially everyone that commits to the event and commits early. Like, I'm going to benefit you because I don't, and I mean, honestly, it takes away from me. Like, if I pay the top 3 or top 5, like, there's a good chance I'm going to get some money back. But to me, it's like, I want to have a good event that's fun, and that's what's going to pay me back. Like, that's what's going to do it for me. Like, having an event that people want to be at, not taking over event people want to be at and putting money on the line and then making people not want to be there.
Right.
So again, like, So that kind of like structure, I know events pay people to show up. I know some have that. Like if Brad Baker shows up to a local flat track event, there's a chance he's getting a little bit of money just to be there. But that's one person. And what I'm trying to do is I want the hooligan class to like basically benefit from being there. I think if it works, we'll be able to have the power later to someone like, hey, we're going to have an event. We want the hooligans there. Okay, well, you're not charging us all $50 to race. Like, you're going to let us race for free because you want us there because we're good for your event type stuff.
Yeah.
So, it's hopefully that all works, and we'll see. That's in the future for sure. But it's kind of a plan and experiment. But I'm hoping that helps random guys basically show up. So,
yeah.
But
so where like when you guys when you're practicing, I mean, like take people for us for example. God, if I can talk here, like out here we've got, as far as practicing goes, like how the hell do you practice this thing if you've got no racetrack or anything? Is what I'm getting at. What
if you've got no racetrack? It's hard.
Yeah.
You're in North Carolina. You guys, I grew up in Indiana. Do you have a lot of gravel roads like we did?
Yeah, there are some.
You can go out and kind of mess around on those a little bit, but that's only it's just going to get you comfortable on the bike and having the bike sideways and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The best thing to do, depending where you're at in North Carolina, like there's got to be dirt tracks. Like you're the home of NASCAR.
Well, there is. That's over. We're on the coast. So like Charlotte and all that stuff, there is a lot of dirt tracks. There actually, a dude that listens to the show sent me a link the other day. There's a race coming up, not this weekend, but next weekend, that's like pretty close to me. So I'm going to go check it. I'm going to go check it out and see what's up out there. It's about 2 hours away from us.
Okay. Well, if you can find a flat track, like a local flat track organization, a lot of them, because I mean, we've been doing races at pro events. A lot of them know what the hooligan thing is and they see it, and a lot of them want to be part of it. Like I had a race in Spain hit me up this year and they're like, "Oh, we'd like you to come out and race." And I'm like, "Do you have a bike there? And are you playing for plane tickets?" Like,
yeah, for real.
You don't have to pay me to be there, but if and they're like, "Oh yeah, well," and I'm like, "Okay." But so like, people see what's going on and they see what they see, or they see the fans. Like, they don't see us racing. They see the fan attention. And that's what, a race organizer wants. So if you can find like a local organization and some local riders, if you've got the way we did it, or what they let us get away with, was if we had like 3 riders, we could have a class.
Okay.
And then for practice nights, like we just hit them up. Like one of our local tracks has a practice like once a month. So we used to go out to there. Now we've got some other tracks, but like that one we would go out. It was like $40 and you could practice all night. And we were just like, hey, like we have flat track tires. We don't have knobbies. We're not going to tear up the track. Can we come out and ride? And they're like, yeah, sure. And then it just spiraled into like, okay, how many bikes do we need for a race? And they were like, if you have 3 guys, we'll give you your own class. And they might put you in with another class too, like a run what you brung class, but they'll score you separately or something like that. So you just kind of call some guys and go, hey, like, I got this bike and I want to come ride it. Will you guys let me do that? And a lot of times they'll say, yeah. I mean, it's as long as you don't have dirt bike knobbies on or something, they're pretty cool with it. And that's all we really did. But practice is definitely key. Like getting out and just doing laps and figuring out what you're doing is really, and that's the biggest thing. Like guys want to know my secret. Like my secret is, when practice starts, I'm already there and unloaded. And when practice is ending, I'm still riding and everyone else is like packed up already. Like, that was kind of the thing. Like you just go do as many laps as you can and you get better and better and better. So yeah, I mean, that would be what I would look at in North Carolina. Another idea that I have that I'm doing at my race, and you guys would have to think about in North Carolina too, like, I think would help start something better. Like we had a benefit in Southern California. There's so many companies, so many riders, so many bikes. Like we had basically people to kind of get something started. I I'm doing a Hooligan street class at my race where you have to run DOT tires.
Yeah.
Because that eliminates the 19-inch rear wheel. You don't need that anymore. And it also eliminates $200 worth of tires, and you can have $100 worth of tires that are going to last 10 times as long anyway.
So they're like, if you're running the 19-inch wheel, you're saying, well, there's DOT.
There are. Yeah, but they're still more expensive. So,
okay.
like, basically, the hardest thing about our Hooligan bikes, the most expensive things are long rear shocks. And with burly stilettos, that's not that bad. So the hardest thing is a 19-inch rear wheel. Like, you're finding mags, or you're still, even if you get a front mag and adapt, you're putting spacers and long bolts and
so what? Let's talk about this real fast, because that's what I'm like running into now. I've got two 19s for like mags for this sporty that I've got, and that's what I'm trying to fit. Like, it seems like what's his name? There's something racing. Phil, God, I can't think of it. There's like, I've found one adapter kit is basically what I'm getting at for those things. And it's not cheap. It's, $350 or whatever for the spacers and all that mess. So is that my only option? Like, basically,
to do 19s, I think Drag Specialties has a spacer kit.
Okay.
That's, I believe, what Bronny from Speed Merchant uses on a lot of his builds. He does a Drag Specialties kit, and then you put like super long bolts in it.
Okay.
I know the 750 we did, he put they're like 5-inch long, but he put good ARP 12 points, so they should be durable bolts, but still a lot of torque on a long bolt with a spacer in the middle of it.
Right.
My first wheel was actually the spoke wheel off of my Dyna front, and then it had adapters on it also. So, and that's the Drag Specialties kit might be a little bit cheaper. You also might check out Stores Racing.
Stores?
Yeah, it's like STORZ, I think.
Okay.
He's a big street track guy that he does like the Dyna motor mount kit. No, that's Spooth does that. Stores is like, I don't know. He does like street tracker kits for Sportsters, like super legit, buy your own stuff, build your own little street tracker. And he's been doing it way before Bronny or Roland or even Mule dreamed about it. Stores has been doing street tracker stuff. So he might have some stuff. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure Bronny, man, there's just a kit in Drag Specialties. And it's not even like a kit to adapt a Sportster front to a Sportster rear. It's like a 1-inch spacer and a 3/4 spacer and a 1/2-inch spacer or something like that. So you kind of have to get it in and measure, and then you either buy or make axle spacers too. So it's a hassle. I mean, it's, if you're in a shop or you are a shop or you're a machinist, like, it's not that big a deal. But for the average guy, it's a little more difficult for sure.
Yeah.
And I would say that's probably the hardest part of building a proper Hooligan bike is the 19-inch rear wheel. Yeah,
that's proven to be the biggest pain. I mean, hell, I've got this freaking motor back together already, and the wheel. I just feel like once I get this, and I say it a million times on the show, but once I get this thing into like a roller, if I can see it sitting there, like, I'm just going to move that much faster on building this thing. But
then you're motivated. Then you want to go for it.
Exactly.
Well, one thing I would consider, and you might keep it for a backup anyway. That way, if you go to Mama Tried, you can throw on a 19. But for building a class where you're at, if you run the 16-inch rear, or if you have an 18, for a 16, I think Duro makes a cool like enduro tire.
Okay.
And it's like $58 or $60 or something. And it's just a cheap 16-inch kind of half off-road tire.
Yep.
And then Kenda and Shinko both make them in 19s and 18s with all the like adventure bikes. That's all they are, like adventure tires.
Yeah.
So they're pretty good. They're not near as good as our flat track tires. But if you've got say you've got like 4 or 5 guys together and maybe a couple of them still ride their bike on the street, or not everyone wants to spend the time or money on a 19. If you guys keep it spec and you all run spec tires like that,
yeah,
then you'll all be on a level playing field. But as soon as one guy gets a 19 and that one guy puts flat track tires on, then everyone's going to want to do it because you're not going to keep up anymore.
It's that much of a difference.
Oh, yeah. You should have saw – Butcher was a good example. You should have saw the difference in Butcher when he was easy for me to beat running, third, fourth, fifth. And Butcher's always been fast, but he was just kind of he was just back in the pack a little bit, and then he put on flat track tires, and all of a sudden he's at the front. And it was just night and day difference. And he even said it. He's like, dude, it was all tires. He's like, last week I were running in these, and this week I put on flat track tires, and it was night and day. So that's kind of it's an idea that I have that I'm trying to kind of push on guys, or just something to consider. Again, if you've got those guys and not everyone has stuff to do the 19, or yours is ready and theirs isn't, it might be a good way to kind of get the class started and get some guys into it before everyone goes to 19-inch wheels and flat track tires.
So you guys are mostly racing on dirt. At Mama Tried, that was something totally different. Is that?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah. And that was it was like a polished concrete with Dr. Pepper syrup sprayed on it.
Yeah.
Which is actually a common practice for flat track. San Jose in California, they do a little San Jose indoor. Jared Meese comes out for it all the time. And it looks smaller than Mama Tried. It's teeny tiny. But it's a common practice for indoor stuff. There's ice racing in the wintertime in spots, and then there's indoor, Coke syrup concrete.
Yeah.
It works surprisingly well. But, most everything we do is dirt. It just rides better. The bikes slide, and they're a lot more fun that way.
Well, what? Tell me some more stuff about just about the bike in general, dude. I'm serious. Okay. I'm sitting here like I've got a pen and paper in my hand, and like I
hear it clicking once in a while.
Yeah, I'm taking notes on this. But for you, like, what is a hooligan bike? Like, so for the first time racer coming out, like, what is? Are there rules to all this stuff? Like,
there's a very, very few. Some of us are pushing for more rules. Some guys want less rules. The problem to me, if you have less rules than we have established, like some guys are like, oh, anything should go. Well, what's to stop an XR 750 from showing up then?
Yeah.
Like, and honestly, like I'm in the position where I'm in good with Speed Merchant. I've got access to a welder. I got a buddy back in Indiana that builds sprint car frames. Like, and I know enough pro riders now. Like, why couldn't I get a full chromoly race frame and put a Sportster motor in it? Yeah, and still be somewhat on a budget. You know, guys like Roland Sands, that guy's got a frame table and a fabricator. Why couldn't he do it? So it's like, if you do that, that stops the average guy. So the biggest, most important rule that we have is a stock frame, and it's supposed to be stock head tube angle, stock swing arm pivot position, and stock shock mounts. Roland's rule book says you can like bolt on things to move the shock a little bit. Okay. And if you look at the back of his Indians, they just move the shock like an inch or so. Yeah. Whatever. I thought about if I really wanted to spend the time, I could piss him off and I could bolt on a monoshock kit to my Sportster. Right. I'm like, dude, there's enough. Well, there's holes back there where the shocks mount, and on the fender struts, I'm like, dude, I could build a little chromoly hoop and put a shock in there. Yeah. But I'm not about that. Like, I'm honestly like, I've done a lot of racing, and racing costs a lot of money. And the best way to keep it cheap to me is simple rules like stock frame. Like, one of the things that makes hooligan racing cheap is that the motor is not that important. Like, on most of the tracks that we race, an 883 is just as fast as a 1200 because we're running little eighth and quarter mile dirt tracks and we're spinning the rear tire the whole time. Yeah. So you don't need the horsepower. So it really, that helps make it cheap, because a lot of racing, you're getting beat by someone, we'll go spend $500 or $1,000 on your motor, and now you beat him, and now he's going to go spend $1,000 more, and he's going to beat you, and it's just a battle of money and horsepower. Yeah. Yep. And it's not like that. Like, for us, suspension kind of helps. Like, I have better suspension than most, and I still get beat sometimes by a lot shittier suspension. So, but yeah, I mean, the stock frame's the biggest thing. Another thing is year at X Games, and we kind of had a problem with it, and it got actually the bike blew up, so it kind of fixed itself. But there was like an iron head with like, it was like a TIG welded chromoly chassis, but the dude swore that it was stock. Yeah. Okay. And I'm like, it might have been stock from Harley, but it was out of a race shop. It wasn't off a production line. Right. So it's like, you know, there was a gray area. So I think the other rule is like 87 or something like that, whatever the first year of the Evo Sportster was. Yeah. You know, and honestly, the old 4-speeds aren't that desirable. The frames are nicer. The frames are a little bit lighter, but I don't know. For some reason, people don't like the 4-speed motor. But so it's like, yeah, like 86 and up, 750 cc's or larger. And the only reason to me that it's even a 750 is for the Street 750 Harley. Okay. And if someone showed up to my race with a Street 500, like, I'm not going to tell them no, because the reason for the CC limit is not horsepower, it's weight. Like, a 750 twin is a big, heavy motor. Uh-huh. So that is why there's a limit on that. Like, the whole gimmick to what we're doing is the bikes are 450 pounds plus. Right. So, so yeah, it's 750 cc. Roland says a twin. I'm of the firm belief, if the dude shows up with a CB 750 or CB 900 and wants to race, like, I'll let him. Yeah. Because if he can muscle that 4-cylinder around the track, like, props to him. So, because there's reasons 4-cylinders don't do that great in flat tracks. So, yeah. But I also think, like, that would be awesome to have a 4-cylinder ripping around. Even if the dude was getting beat, if he's having a good time and smiling, like, it would be great for the sport. Yeah. Other than that, I think that's about it for rules. I mean, they're pretty open. Roland's got a little bit more of a rule book, but it's really stock frame, 86 and newer, 750 cc's or bigger, and a twin or more.
So
yeah, go ahead.
as far as like the different races, like so you've got Ivy League and then you've got Roland. What is the difference in is everybody not racing each other, or is it different circuits?
It's basically unorganization is all it really is.
Because because everything's so new. You think that's why?
For several reasons, but that's definitely one of the reasons.
Yeah.
A lot of it too is like we travel so much. Like the guy Jeremy from Flat Out Fridays, like he's not going to have anything to do with Brian Bell at Ivy League because they're far away. So even if Brian does a little series here, it's not really going to tie into Milwaukee type stuff.
Right.
Roland's series kind of did. I mean, it kind of helped bring that together a little bit, but it also like piggybacked onto other events. Like it piggybacked onto the one show, and it piggybacked onto Flat Out Friday, and it piggybacked onto Dirtquake. So it didn't even create its own thing. It kind of went to like, hey, they basically knew what races everyone is going to do, and including them, their riders in that. Like they were going to go to the one show, they were going to go to Flat Out Friday. So they just kind of said, hey, we want to put together a little series on top of this for incentive or whatever. So that kind of kept everyone together and gave us a little bit of like a series that was strung together. But personally, that series has its own problems.
Right.
But that's kind of why one of the reasons that the rules haven't really been even everywhere. And it's getting people on board with it too. Like even Jeremy from Flat Out Friday, like talking to him about what we're going to do at the next Flat Out Friday, like what the rule's going to be for pros or not, whether there's going to be a rule at all. And just for bikes and stuff like that. Cause we've had 650s show up to Flat Out Friday. It was like an SV 650 and on that little track, it did really well.
Yeah.
And we're just like, that's close, but it's not like, it's not, it doesn't fit. So, and I mean, we have to be kind of biased too. Like it's funny. My dad's not a Harley guy, so I have interesting conversations with him about this. And for pro racing, I have to agree with him. Like at a pro level, if you say it's a 750 cc's and you're allowed a 4-valve head and it's got to be a twin, then open rules past that. Like do what you can with that. But for what we're doing, like we got to look at basically who's paying the bills, and honestly, that's Harley and Indian. So a Suzuki SV650, like I don't care if I have to tell you no. Right. If you want to show up on an SV1000 and again manhandle 1,000 around, I'm cool with that. But we've kind of established the rules for a reason, and we don't make them brand bias. We're not like, no, you can't be here because it's a Suzuki. It's like, no, it's supposed to be a 750 or bigger. You got to be on a 750. Yeah. So, and again, to contradict myself, because I already said I would allow a Street 500. The only difference in a Street 500 and a Street 750 is the bore. So it's weight, it's basically a weight thing. But yeah, I mean, that's trying to get more and more people to use the rules has been Roland's series in a way was good for that. Cause they came in and said, hey, this is our rule book for our series. Yeah. What was weird about their rule book though, like it only mattered. You could still race the event if your bike didn't meet the rules because the event organizer said you could, but you just weren't eligible for their money because you didn't fit their rules. But again, it was better than nothing. And honestly, before that, we had nothing.
Well, so, I mean, do you think that at some point I don't know. It seems like with the, what am I trying to say? Like just the way that the hooligan class is, like if everybody kind of unites and makes like this, it takes like the small kind of racer. I don't know. It just seems like if it gets very organized and there's very like strict, rigid rules that not just any dude can show up anymore.
Right. And I've like personally, and not just myself, I'm not the only one, but personally, I've spent a lot of time like pondering rules on how do you keep it open, right? But how do you have some organization and how do you have some like basically like kind of how it started. And again, it kind of goes back to like, there was a reason that you never got a 450 and wanted to go flat track. But there's a reason why you picked up a Sportster and want to go flat track. So it's like, we have to be, we have to be aware of those reasons. And we also have to be aware that there's fans in the stands because they want to see idiots on Harleys just giving it. So, if a guy shows up on an SV1000, for example, like that's one bike. No one's really going to – I raced a Super Hawka last year. Yeah. No one's like, hey, dude, you fit the rules. That's cool. Come race. But it's just – dude,
I get it. There's not and not to be a dick, but there's just like kind of not a place for that. It's not that race.
Right.
I get it.
So
I'm with you on that one.
So yeah, I mean that's kind of what we had. And the thing with the a lot of the back and forth and a lot of the drama, I guess, lately has been about pros or no pros and what do we do about pros and how do we, and again, a lot of guys are like, well, it should be open. And then I look at like guys like you and I'm like, well, how do you feel if like you've never raced before and you're going to show up to a hooligan race and there's like 3 pros there?
Dude, I'm already scared out of my mind. I can tell you that. Like, and not even scared to get on the bike and get on the track, but more or less of how do I like show up as a complete rookie and not fucking crash everybody or kill myself.
And that's actually the opposite end of it too. Like, to me, I want to grow it from a base. Like, I want to grow it from a grassroots level. Like, I don't feel like 3 pros on top are going to do anything. Mm-hmm. I feel like 40 or 50 riders as a core is what's going to help grow it. Yeah. So, but I also get like on that same token, like if you show up to race with me, like I hang with pros. Yeah. So like in a way you should be as intimidated to race with me, but a lot of guys aren't. And some guys are, don't get me wrong. But...
fuck. No. I am. I'm right there. I'm right there. Yeah. Because, and not to cut you off, but that's what's been going through my head this entire conversation is, so you and Rusty Butcher and, the other guys that I can't think of right now, but the other guys that are out there that I see in the photos all the time, like, dude, how the fuck do I compete with these dudes?
And
practice is what it is.
Yeah, practice. I will say again, like, dude, 3 years ago, like we were basically where you were. Like, we were. I see guys show up on street bikes once in a while, like at Butcher's event. There was a dude on a Sportster with ape hangers and forward controls, and he was backing it into the corner and then just hanging it out, coming out. Yeah. And I'm just like, dude, I wasn't that fast when my bike was a tracker. Like he would have beat me, and I would have had flat track tires. Yeah. So something else that, and this topic's been kind of pushed around a lot of like classes. Like we need to separate everyone. And for the longest time, like we didn't have enough people. Like you can't have 6 guys in 2 classes. Yeah. But now that we're getting to the point where we have 20 and 30 and 40 and sometimes 50 guys show up, we can. Mm-hmm. So what I'm doing at my event again, of course, I think I have the best ideas, but we'll see how it works. So I'm promoting a race September 23rd at Santa Maria, which is for you, the opposite coast. Mm-hmm. But what I'm doing is I'm doing 4 classes actually. The guys from Born Free are they're super rad, and them and some of their friends they have hand shift bikes. So that's my 4th class. I gave my classes stupid names because, like, to me, part of the hooligan thing, it's like it's the rider persona to a point. Like, we're all, and I've heard someone describe it this way, like we're all WWE wrestlers. Yeah. Right? we all wear our outfits, and we all like kind of have our persona and our personality. And to me, that's like, it helps the racing out. Like like when NASCAR was huge in the 90s and early 2000s, like that was one thing that made it huge. But so for my classes, what I'm doing a hooligan WFO. Those are your fast guys, wide fucking open. Okay, nice. And then what I'm doing, I didn't want to do amateur and expert or whatever, so I'm doing a hooligan half throttle. Okay. Those are my amateur guys. So the new guys or whatever, but they've got 19-inch wheels. Those are my half throttle guys. And then the class I'm excited about, I'm doing a hooligan street class where you have to run DOT tires. And someone's going to try to call me on my bullshit and tell me that Shinkos are DOT. if someone shows up with Shinko tires, they're running the half throttle class, not the street class. Like, it's meant for, I know that those tires exist. I run those tires actually right now. I got a Shinko on my bike. So those are no good. But so I'm doing a street class. So again, like the guy like you that's like, man, I don't have this 19 on yet. If I can throw my 16 on and get the bike back together, now I have a running bike and I can worry about my 19 later.
Yeah.
Now there's a class for that guy. Or even worse, the guy that's like looking at the Sporty in his garage, like, dude, I want to go race. I don't want to do anything to it.
Yeah.
Then you got a class to race. So, and that's going to work for the Dyna guys that want to come out. There's a bunch of like Sportster kids around San Diego called Rad Racing. I really hope some of those dudes show up because they're, to use their word, they're pretty rad. It's just like it's like some young skateboard kids that just thrash and wheelie their Sportsters. And
this is with us out here, like none of us have Sportsters. I picked this thing up on a trade, and it's like there's no title to it. It was just like it was in a freaking box, and so I'm putting this thing back together. So I've got to talk like all of my buddies into getting fucking Sportsters to do this.
Yeah. Well, and there's really no reason that to start off. Like a Sportster is going to be a little faster than a Dyna.
Yeah.
But like honestly, my Hooligan Street class, like hopefully I have some Dyna guys show up.
Yeah, yeah.
If I get enough response from the Dyna kids, because a lot of the, like we race with some other guys around San Diego that they're all Dyna wheelie guys. Like Joey 5'5" and the kid they call Dirty and stuff like that. Like those dudes, Holden versus the World, like those dudes are all Dyna wheelie dudes.
Mm-hmm.
Tall Boy T from Arizona, he's only got a Dyna. He comes out all the time, signs up for the fast class, and then just drifts the whole corner. He doesn't even race. But he has a bigger smile than anyone out there.
Yeah,
the fans love it that he just like throws that Dyna sideways. So I think the street class to me will help. It'll help the guys that aren't one that they don't know if they want to do it or they don't have a bike yet, or especially if it's not set up yet. Like now there's a class for them. There's a street class. So
I think I just think it'll be cool that if doing a super amateur class like that it gives you a little bit more balls to get out there because. I mean, I'm going to get out there and race. I just don't want to I just don't want to fucking what I'm saying is I don't want to fucking hurt anybody, and I don't want to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'd rather get out there with some dudes that aren't doing 90, you know what I mean? And we can all kind of cruise the track together while we're figuring all this shit out.
Yeah, that was the benefit that we all had. Like, Butcher and I and Sean and Aaron and the guys that Gabe, some other guys that like were kind of here early. Like we all started out together slow, and we all kind of got faster together. So we had that luxury of like we had slow dudes to run around with because it was us, and now we have fast dudes to run around with because again it's us. So I mean, I think that'll be important in going forward is that having the separation in classes, and it's one of those like we might have to. I'm looking at events. This one in September is going to be my first one. I'm working with an actual organizer, and the track we're at, we can't cut too many events, but we're looking at cutting. Dude, I want to combine because in a way, like we've kind of got shit on by a lot of people. Like, we'll show up to a race and you'll look at their advertisement flyer, and it'll be SNS and Vance and Hines and Speed Merchant and Rusty Butcher and Harley Davidson. But the 450 pros go last, and when we're done, half of their fans get up and leave, and then they have the pro main. Yeah, and I'm like, no, we're the ones that people are there to see. Yep. Yeah, so I'm trying to combine some 450 classes and eliminate some other classes, and I don't really want to eliminate too many because I want the regular flat track guys there too. But we're trying to kind of spread it out, have multiple classes, and it might be something where like even Flat Out Friday. Where Jeremy's got to do a fast class and a slow class. Like, there was one of the issues we had in February was like, if you didn't place well in your heat, you were done for the night. Yeah. And I think they kind of gave Butcher like a free pass. And I agree with the reason, like he sheared off all the bolts on his sprocket in his heat race. Like, and he was a straightaway ahead and he had won the previous one in October and part of me, like the stickler for the rules part of me is like, no, he didn't place well. But I'm also like, you know what? That wasn't his fault. He didn't get beat. His bike broke.
Yeah.
But like Aaron from Suicide Machine, like he went down in his heat and it ended up at the back and he was done for the night. No last chance qualifier, no main event, no nothing. Like he flew to Milwaukee, paid to have his bike go to Milwaukee and gets 5 laps in a heat race and he's done.
Yeah.
So, you know, that was because we had too many people. So I think one, spreading the class out will help. Giving the slower guys a class will really help. Brian Bell actually did do that in Florida for his clash on the coast or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So I think that's definitely gaining momentum. It's gaining attention because, you know, again, if we're having 40 or 50 riders show up and the fans are going nuts, and honestly, we're getting to the point where the fans don't want to see Butcher and I. They want to see you. Like, we used to be the guys that crashed all the time, and the fans loved it, and now we don't. And
y'all are fucking killing it now.
I don't think the fans want to see us as much. Like they're like, these guys are boring.
Yeah,
they're the dudes that are crashing all the time.
Oh my god, I do not need to be crashing.
But yeah, so that's definitely like part of it. It's definitely, I think one of the problems that we've had, man, is it's growing. It's been growing, but it's happening so fast and so much that no one knows what to do. And it's like, it just kind of hits everyone in the face. And they're like, oh shit, I got this right and this right, but I screwed that up. Like Brian Bell will tell you straight up. I listened to a podcast interview from him last week and I'd heard it from him before. His race in February total, he had 900 entries over 2 days.
What?
There were like 50 hooligan bike. Yeah,
Jesus.
It was insane. Because you're allowed to ride like multiple classes.
Okay.
So yeah, he's like, dude, he goes, I'm going to have to do a pre-registry. I'm going to have to shut it down at a certain number. Like, I can't do this. Like, we were running too late. He had to pay a fine to the city. The Sunday was a mess too. Like, and it was just, there were too many riders, he's trying to do too much. And it kind of it just slapped him in the face. It all happened so quick that he was like, I don't know what to do. Like, it was too late when it happened. And that's kind of what the hooligans are doing too. Like, it's all happening so quick and we're all kind of trying to figure out the growing pains. So, but we're trying to get you a class. We're trying to get the amateur stuff.
I need it. I'm gonna have to call Jeremy and wear him out about it too. You need to let us get it. Well, I mean, I guess the only other class up there at like Mama tried was the inappropriate class where you could kind of get in. But even that's fucking scary, man. I mean, with all those different bikes running around.
And you're gonna have, I mean, in an amateur class, like you're gonna have some sandbaggers a little bit. Like one of the new Speed Merchant guys is guilty of that at Born Free, which he didn't win by a lot, but I was giving him a hard time. I'm like, man, you're better than that. And he's like, it was like his second race, and he's like, oh come on, dude, it's my second race. And but he won the amateur, and he might do amateur to some big events, but he's already moving up. But you know, you're going to have total novices and guys that shouldn't be there, but I don't know. You just you deal with that when you get there, but it's definitely better than like you guys out there with guys that are running with pros and pros. I mean, we're even on a track like Flat Out Friday, like the speed difference that we had coming into the corners on some of the new guys it was nuts.
Oh yeah.
And like one of the biggest things I honestly feel like guys like Rusty Butcher are more talented of a rider than I am. So I do stuff, and Mark always gives me a hard time. Like, I change gearing on my bike, and he always gives me a hard time. And I'm like, dude, I can't keep up with you. I got to do what I can do, you know? Stock gearing on a Sportster is something like 21 or 22, and then like 52 on if you convert the chain with a 16-inch rear wheel. And then if you go 19, that's a little tall. I was running at Flat Out Friday. I ran a 17 tooth front sprocket. It was the smallest one anyone makes. And I had a 53 or 54 in the rear. Yeah. Like, I feel the bike would do like 25 mile an hour maxed, but it would come out of that corner so hard on the concrete. It was ridiculous.
What do you normally on the like a quarter mile track or like an eighth mile track? Like, what kind of ratio are you running?
I usually run second gear and about a 21, like 52 or something.
Okay, all right.
So, which is pretty average. And honestly, like another thing, like a lot of guys never change gears.
Yeah.
The Harleys, like especially the Sportsters, like their torque curve is so wide and the torque is so kind of powerful. It follows the horsepower curve. Like you don't really need gearing that much. You can just kind of run it wherever it fits on the track. As long as you're not way up in the rev limiter,
yeah,
and you're going to be fine. So that's, it's not that big a deal, but I'm getting to the point where I'm like, I need every little edge for myself. So I definitely do that a little bit, but the concrete was different. I mean, it was also, it was like racing around your living room. That track was so small.
God, it looked small. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really
it
did.
was, you were like never picked up. Like it was just it's crazy. And especially like our bikes, again, like they're so heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's nuts to have a 450-pound bike and you're like on the brakes trying to get it into the corner and then on the throttle trying to hold it on as long as you can. It's trippy, but it's super fun. And I'm so excited to hear that like you guys are building bikes, like, because you're not the only guys and it'll pick up. Like once you have yours done, your whole little group around there. Because especially like you guys can buy Sportsters so cheap over there too.
Oh yeah, dude, you can pick up a Sportster for under. I mean, if you find the right deal for under $1,500, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And
especially for doing what we're trying to do with them, like I don't need it to. I like hell. I mean, I bought this one in a box. Like I don't need the thing to look pretty. You know what I mean?
Nope. Yeah.
So you can get them for nothing. You really can.
Yeah. You want straight forks, a motor, and a frame, and that's about it. Like you can sell a lot of the parts. Like if you're going cheap, the or the built well seats are nice. That's what I ran for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Saddleman and Speed Merchant are working on a seat that'll be a Speed Merchant branded by Saddleman. It'll actually have both logos.
Oh yeah.
And that'll be a bolt-on seat. That was one that like I kind of designed based off my Biltwell seat. Actually, I'm like, I went into Saddleman because they're out here and I'm like, hey, this is kind of what I have and it's comfortable. Like, can you make these improvements to it? And then, Bronny got with him and he's like, dude, I want to sell that. Like, we made some changes. The sprocket cover will be important eventually. You'll probably end up breaking that. And now Speed Merchant makes one, Butcher makes one, Tracker Die makes one. The stock ones just break. Yeah. Other than that, like,
what about front forks? Like, am I running just a stock triple tree with like R6 forks or what? How does
it kind of depends how deep you want to go. So most guys are still running stock forks, like stock Sportster forks.
Yeah.
What I would say to do if you do want to run those, you want to like cut the spring a little bit, which will shorten it and stiffen it. And then I'm not real sure how, but you move spacers around inside the fork to kind of make it the right length.
Okay.
And if you got a guy that does 39 millimeter forks, those forks are pretty easy. It's like you take washers from the top and put on the bottom or something.
Okay.
And then maybe run a little bit thicker oil. And then those actually work pretty well. A lot of guys still run those.
Just the stock ones.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Especially when you're starting out. Now, the problem you'll have if you're running stock trees with a mag wheel or a Sportster spoke, they're like 2.1 inches wide.
Okay.
Depending on your tire, it should fit. I believe a Shinko fits the Maxxis was a little bit narrower on a narrow rim. On my Street 750, my personal one right now, I still have the stock Street 750 front end, and it's narrow. And I put the Maxxis on there because it looks wider, but when I mounted them both on the rim, it was actually a little bit narrower than the Shinko. So that might fit. On mine, originally, I had a Dunlop, and we had to cut it a little bit. So what a lot of guys are doing, because of convenience and because they're here, like I run the Speed Merchant triple trees that are wider. Okay. But then you got to have a little bit wider front axle, which actually I think Speed Merchant might make. And then I personally run the R6 forks or F4i forks. They're a little bit better. They give you a little bit of adjustment. They're a little bit lighter, and what I really liked was the lower part of the fork is a little bit shorter, so I could lower the front of the bike a little bit more.
Yeah.
But now, as I'm getting faster, I raise the back of the bike, and I've raised the front of the bike to make up for it. So I've actually raised the bike back up a little bit. But starting out, that's where I was at. So the Speed Merchant trees work well because they're wider, though. You don't have to worry about the tire and the wheel combo. It'll fit.
Speed Merchant. And here I am writing all this stuff down.
And if you call up Speed Merchant, and this kind of goes from anyone building a Hooligan bike, if you call up Speed Merchant, talk to Bronny, tell him what you're doing, and he's not going to give you everything, but he will. He'll definitely give you a little bit of a deal.
Yeah.
He wants to support it. I mean, it was kind of secondhand, but he kind of got sucked into this, and I don't know sometimes if he loves it or hates it, but but he's in it now.
Yeah,
so
he's
So a lot of us are running his triple trees. They also help bring back they have less offset. They bring the forks back closer to the bike a little bit, which increases your trail.
Mm-hmm.
Makes it handle a little bit better when the rear end's lifted up, but it also helps put a little bit of weight on the front end, which I think makes it handle a little bit better. I've also heard yes, it does. No, it doesn't. And none of us really know because none of us are pro riders.
Yeah, there you go.
I personally have 7/8 bars. So I run, actually, I'm going to switch to a Motion Pro throttle. Right now, I just have a stock Yamaha 450 throttle.
Mm-hmm.
We run like a dirt bike clutch lever. And then we just hit up Barnett's clutches and cables. And we tell them, hey, we've got a cable. This is our throttle end. This is our clutch. We're putting them on a Sportster. We need them this long. And they send us some cables.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the most professional way to do it. You can do the little screw on ends and crimp on ends and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm just always scared I'm going to go to a race and it's going to break
Fail.
when I'm at a race. Yeah.
Yeah, that would suck.
So, and honestly, I have little hands, so I really like the 7/8. But to start off, especially Biltwell makes some good bars. Not Speed Merchant, sorry. Butcher's making some bars.
Mm-hmm.
So they all make little tracker bars. I think Butcher's are a little bit wider. Right now I'm running flat track bars that are super wide. I don't even know the number off the top of my head, but they're real wide. Moto bars are good. They're a pretty good width too, but you don't want them too narrow. You want to be able to have leverage on them and kind of force the bike around.
Yeah.
But there's nothing wrong with 1-inch bars though. They work pretty well.
All right. Nice.
One big thing I would recommend, check out ROX risers, ROX.
Okay.
They're they mount in your riser and then they hold your bar, and you might have to make a little shim if you're running 1-inch bars, but they lift the bar up a little bit and allow you to roll the bar back a little bit too.
Huh.
So it'll feel a little better. Depending what year your bike is, if it has a 3-gallon tank, Lowbrow sells tanks for $120 that are 2.2s.
Yeah.
It lets you get a little bit more a little bit further forward on the bike.
Okay. Yeah, because I don't have. That's the one thing I don't have is for at least this bike is I don't have any tanks or fenders or anything. So
yeah, another great one that I like. I run the Lowbrow Tsunami fender. It's aluminum. It's a bitchin' little look. That's what most of Rusty Butcher's bikes are running. Saddleman also makes a bolt-on tracker tail though. So if you really like the flat track look, Saddleman makes a bolt-on tracker kit. Right. And it's like a seat, a fiberglass tail, and a little mounting thing. I know Broken Home Josh is running one, and he tumbled pretty good last week, and I think it tore up the fiberglass, but I think the bolt-on kit is solid.
Yeah. All right. Nice.
So,
well, dude, man, I'm not going to keep you on here any longer.
Okay,
dude, I had you for about an hour. I appreciate you hanging out with me this long. I've got a million more questions, man, but I'll save them for at least sometime. Hopefully, we get to meet in person. But
cool. Well, and if you want to, we can always do this again.
Dude, I would love it.
I'm pretty open. I can talk motorcycles way, way too long. That's how we killed an hour and I don't even know if we covered that much.
No, no, let's definitely do it. As my bike is like getting together and coming along, man, I know that I'm going to want to be talking to somebody about this because I got nobody here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Me and Scott I've got to get, he's got to find a bike for him. This one's, the first bike is mine. So
cool.
Once he gets his and we'll have, at least I'll have somebody to practice with. But yeah, man, let's do it again, please. It would be okay. Really cool.
Yeah. Well, let's, for anyone, I mean, for you, for my listeners, or for whatever, you can always, my Instagram is wig09, spell out 0. And then if anyone has any questions, man, they can always slide into the DMs, comment on a photo, whatever. I'm usually pretty easy or pretty helpful with that stuff. I love, like I spent an hour on the phone with you interviewing because I love hooligan racing. Like it's I don't know, it's ridiculous and it's consuming my life right now, but I love it. So if I can help people, help them get into it, help them get their bike set up, whatever, I will. Another good one, which is also me. Some people know it, some people don't. I don't like everyone to know it. It's not, I don't know, because it's not me. It's not meant to be me. It's meant to be hooligans, but SoCal_hooligans.
Mm-hmm.
My race, the race I'm promoting, it's kind of through, like, that's the name I'm putting on it. And if you look at that, it's meant to cover like riders. So like, you get your bike out, take some photos, send me some photos and like a little bit of info. And we'll just, we'll put your riders on the norm and we'll do a little photo of your bike and stuff. And it's just it's to spread that it started, honestly, what that started as is we had a group text and it was hard to keep track of who was going to what practice or, hey, like I'm going to go Saturday to the track. You guys want to go? Or like 2 or 3 weeks, we'd see it. And then 2 or 3 weeks later, it was like, dude, where was someone doing what? So I started the SoCal Hooligans to be like, hey, there's a practice on this day, just to like kind of inform people and tell them. And I've turned it into, I try to do like rider profiles and I try to do like bike spec and bike stuff like that. So you'll see like probably in the last 5 or 6 posts, like my bike's on there, a guy from Colorado, and then Broken Home's bike's on there. So you can see the bike, kind of get a parts list idea, things like that. So you can kind of get an idea what guys do different, because not everyone has the same setup as I do. You might be like, oh dude, where's that fender come from? Or where's whatever. So that's like kind of what that's meant for, is to like, now it's like to promote races, but it's to just keep people, at least in this area, organized. But if I see a race somewhere else in the country, like I'll still post about it just so people see it, people know it's happening, things like that. So, but yeah, man, we'll definitely, I can talk motorcycles way too long, way too often.
No, dude, we'll definitely do it again. Man, I really appreciate it, Chris, and everybody out there listening, go check out Chris's stuff on Instagram, SoCal Hooligans, and then his Wig09. And dude, man, I appreciate it again. Thanks a lot, dude.
Hey, no problem, man. Thanks for having me on, and I